The sun was beginning to set when she reached the riverbank, her steps unsteady, her clothes torn, and her heart shattered. Mud clung to her bare feet, and her arms wrapped tightly around her trembling body. She had been cast out, left without a goodbye, without a hand to hold. The words of the elders still rang in her ears, cold and cruel, as though her love had made her something shameful. But all she had done was love someone they didn't approve of. That was her only crime. She stood there, unsure of what to do, the river stretching before her like a mirror to her pain. Behind her, everything she had ever known had turned its back on her. Friends she grew up with lowered their eyes when she walked by. The woman who once held her when she cried now crossed the street to avoid her. Even the church that promised to love her like a daughter had closed its doors. She felt invisible, abandoned. She sank to her knees, unable to hold back the tears. The world felt too big, too empty. As the wind picked up and the light faded, she heard footsteps approach slowly from behind. She didn't turn around at first, fearing it was someone sent to mock her, or worse, drive her away again. But the footsteps stopped a few feet away, and then, gently, something warm was placed around her shoulders. A blanket. A familiar woolen blanket that smelled of pinewood and safety. She turned slowly and saw him standing there, his eyes filled with quiet strength. He didn't speak right away. He just sat beside her and let her cry. He had waited for her all day, knowing she'd come to the only place that had ever given them peace. The willow tree near the river had witnessed their first shared words, their laughter, their promises. Now, it would witness her breaking. And his waiting. He had warned her what the town might do if they found out. They didn't understand love that didn't follow rules. They feared anything different. But she had believed, somehow, they would see her heart. That they'd understand. When they didn't, when they turned on her without a second thought, it crushed her. And yet here he was, not asking for explanations or offering solutions. Just being there. Just waiting with a blanket. They didn't speak much that night. He helped her to his horse, wrapped her in the blanket again, and took her to the cabin where he lived. A small, quiet place on the edge of the forest. He gave her warm soup and a bed by the fire, and still, he didn't ask questions. He only said, "You're safe now." The days that followed were slow and hard. She would wake up suddenly, haunted by the faces of those who had once smiled at her. She struggled to find her place in a world where everything had been taken from her. But he was always there. Teaching her to care for the animals. Letting her rest when her heart was too heavy. Holding her hand when the silence became too much. Over time, the ache began to ease. She learned how to build a new life, one made not of acceptance from the world, but of peace within herself. With him, she didn't have to pretend. She didn't have to earn love. It was given freely, day after day. Seasons changed, and with them, so did she. The girl who once sat broken at the river became a woman who could smile without fear. She planted flowers near the willow tree, tended to the garden, laughed again. She found beauty in simple things, in sunrises, in fresh bread, in his quiet love. Years passed. They built a life others said they never could. A life without approval from those who once judged, but full of joy nonetheless. Sometimes, she would return to the riverbank and sit beneath the willow tree. Not to mourn. But to remember. And when she did, he would always be near, still holding that same old blanket, ready to wrap it around her shoulders if she ever needed it again.